Hello and welcome you watching the Friday edition of This Is Exclusive with me, Shavan Sen. Ladies and gentlemen, as India moves towards a Shashakt Bharat, Indian Army across the country has now been carrying out multiple military exercises. On the one hand, you have the Tri-Services exercise that is being carried out by the Western Command. You have the Northern Command that has now been carrying out multiple exercises. Tonight on This Is Exclusive, we take you through each of these exercises that have been carried out across the country and the messaging that the Indian Armed Forces is essentially doing post-Operation Sindhu. All this and much more in this edition of This Is Exclusive. But up first, let me take you through the headlines we're tracking in this hour.
I think it was only a couple of weeks ago that I stood here and spoke in a conclave that was telecast live through the day. And only a few days later, there was a video of mine circulating, obviously propagating views that are nowhere closer to the manner in which I think.
Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai talks about Pakistan distorting his speech at Forces First Conclave, sends across a big message.
You have to prepare yourself and you have to equip yourself. And that is what Sardar Patel's whole life was all about.
National Security Advisor Ajit Doval addresses Sardar Patel lecture on governance, says we have to respond to threats as a measure to protect national security. India extends NOTAM for Tri-Services exercise. New notice to airmen for exercise between 2nd and 11th of November. India is flexing its military muscle with a series of strategic moves showcasing its growing capabilities and commitment to regional security. Ladies and gentlemen, India commenced on several military exercises involving the Army, Navy and Air Force. The exercises features extensive participation from all three services. The Army, in fact, has deployed T-10, T-90 battle tanks, BrahMos and Akash missile systems and the Prachand attack helicopters. The Air Force, in fact, is showcasing its combat capabilities with Rafale and Su-30 MKI fighter jets, along with the Sea Guardian and Heron drones. The Navy's presence includes Kolkata-class destroyers, Nilgiri-class frigates and fast attack craft operating along the western coast. From Ladakh to Rajasthan to Gujarat to the Indian Ocean, the military is showcasing its prowess and readiness for war. India is flexing its military muscle with a series of strategic moves showcasing its growing capabilities and commitment to regional security. Ladies and gentlemen, over the next couple of minutes, we are going to debunk all that has been spoken about these exercises. Some of it are Tri-Services exercise, some of it that has essentially been carried out by the Army itself. On your screens right now, these are multiple exercises that are simultaneously going on. Whether at all this can be connected is something that we are going to discuss with a veteran who's going to join us in a short while from now. But what I'm going to do right now is going to take you through each of these exercises, the significance of each of these exercises. I want to begin with the Astra Shakti exercise. Now, in the freezing heights of Ladakh, Indian Army has showcased next-generation warfare, precision artillery, swarm drones and night operations under the watch of Lieutenant General Prateek Sharma. He's the Northern Army commander. In fact, this exercise proves that the country's new doctrine leaves absolutely no room for any sort of hesitation. High in the frozen deserts of Ladakh, The mountains thundered as India's Northern Command demonstrated its firepower in one of the most formidable battle exercises in recent years. Astra Shakti, conducted at dizzying altitudes where even breathing tests endurance. The operation was not merely a display of weaponry but a declaration of intent. Take a look at this. Well, the Sapta Shakti commander conducted integrated fire and maneuver exercise Sentinel Strike in Thar Desert at the Mahajan field firing ranges, that is in Rajasthan. The holistic exercise conducted in an all-arms environment included effective mission engagements by modern artillery systems, extensive ground action and firing by the mechanized forces in an extensive counter-drone and the COAS grid to enhance force protection and deliver decisive punch to the enemy in the ever-evolving, complex, multi-domain environment. Take a look at this. We've effectively shown you two exercises that have been carried out. Now, what's the messaging that has essentially been done? The Corps commanders have sent across a very strong message, and that message essentially being that India is prepared. While Operation Sindoor is still going on, in fact, earlier today you've had the Indian Navy also basically responding to some queries that were basically put across by the media. I'm going to play that in a short while from now, but first, listen in to what the Corps commander had to say while this exercise was being carried out.
As you're aware, Indian Army is following the political direction of new normal. As we have been told that today any act of terror in the country, whenever it happens, will be act of war. So for the military or the Indian Army have to prepare for this, any act which is going to happen. So for this, in Southwestern Command, we undertaken series of steps to ensure that our activities are aligned and are fully prepared to respond to the enemy if any misadventure is taken anywhere in the country. So what you have witnessed today is one small part of that large amount of activities are being undertaken to ensure high level of our preparedness. In this exercise, what you have witnessed is the integrated firing by all arms. We have infused new training techniques. The new technology which has been inducted in Indian Army was showcased you today in use of drones, counter drones, how to protect our tanks from drones, how to use the counter drone equipment. All that has been protected and used in today's firing. And you have seen this firing taking place at night, because most of the fight to us mind will be at night. In Southwestern Command, we are training almost 70% at night, and basic drills to ensure that night training is good. The 30% is being done during daytime. The soldiers are getting used to it, and we are fully prepared for any contingency as and when we are called for.
Now, let me take you to the eastern side. What's really happening on the eastern front? As far as the geopolitical condition is concerned, it is quite volatile. So how exactly is the Indian Army, the Indian Navy, as well as the Indian Air Force really tackling those very challenges? Let's begin with the Indian Navy's Eastern Fleet, which has basically released this video showcasing the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile, highlighting its role as a force multiplier in the Indian Ocean region. The video basically demonstrates the missile's speed and precision, underscoring its capability and rapid and decisive engagement, which undoubtedly is a key component of the Eastern Fleet's arsenal. The BrahMos missile enhances the Navy's operational capabilities, reinforcing India's strategic presence in the region. Not to forget the role that the BrahMos essentially played during the Operation Sindoor. The impact of that can be felt even today.
3, 2, 1.
Well, in fact, earlier today, the Director General of Naval Operations, Vice Admiral A.N. Pramod, essentially spoke about some of the challenges we are facing and how exactly is India really prepared for this. Listen in to what the DGNO had to say.
इस एक्सरसाइज जो अभी हम कर रहे हैं गुजरात कोस्ट के उधर और नॉर्थ अरेबियन सी में, इसमें ट्राई सर्विसेज दैट मीन आर्मी, नेवी, एयर फोर्स एज वेल एज कोस्ट गार्ड एंड बीएसएफ एंड द सेंट्रल एजेंसीज आर पार्टिसिपेटिंग एंड इन ए लार्ज नंबर. सो यू वुड फाइंड दैट आर्मी के सदर्न आर्मी कमांड, नेवी का वेस्टर्न कमांड, एयरफोर्स के साउथ वेस्टर्न एयर कमांड पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं. और उसमें हमारा मेन उद्देश्य यह है कि हाउ टू एनहांस दिस सिनर्जी between all the maritime forces as well as inter-services. So it's a very large, complex environment, and this is a multi-domain integrated operation which we are conducting. This includes, other than the conventional part of cyber, space, all these aspects also are being considered. And in Navy में कम से कम 20 से 25 ships participate कर रहे हैं. उसी हिसाब से Air Force के भी larger number 40 से plus fighter aircraft and other support aircraft are participating. And Army का भी, including the amphibious operations, हमारे जो जलश्वा जो ship है LPD है और जो LCUs है landing craft utilities वो भी participate कर रहे हैं. So it's a multi-scale integrated multi-domain operations which has been conducted at larger scale from the period about, it's already started till 13 November we are conducting this exercise.
We'll shift to focus now to the Indian Army's exercise that has been carried out. And just to reiterate, what DGNO Vice Admiral A.N. Pramod was largely talking about was the Tri-Services exercise that is being carried out. In fact, the Tri-Services exercise is undoubtedly a complex exercise that is being carried out. You have the Tri-Services coming together. It's a multi-domain warfare that we are essentially looking at, or a multi-domain operation, I beg your pardon, that is being carried out, which essentially comes with the aim of synergizing the forces. And one of the reasons why this is being done is that in some of the crises that we've essentially faced, the synergy of the three services have been paramount, and that is out in display. Now, the Indian Army conducted an exercise called the Vayu in the desert sector under Southern Command, validating integrated drone and counter-drone operations in a realistic and a very contested battlefield environment. The exercise demonstrated seamless coordination of aerial and ground assets, doctrinal validation, and deployment of indigenous technologies, reflecting India's growing prowess in unmanned systems, as well as multi-domain operations that has been guided by the ethos Jai, which is Jointness, Atmanirbharta and innovation. The exercise reaffirmed the Indian Army's resolve to build a tech-enabled, agile and future-ready force, realizing the vision of drone on every sleeve while being fully capable of operating effectively in a drone-infested battle space.
Manning State Alpha. Manning State Alpha. Weapon free, weapon free. Weapon free, weapon free.
General Sanjay Kulkarni is joining us on this broadcast. General Kulkarni, thank you very much for joining us. Over the last couple of minutes, we have basically showcased all the exercises that have been conducted by the Indian Army, the Navy, as well as the Air Force. I want to ask you, General Kulkarni, is it a little unusual, the number of exercises that we are witnessing simultaneously, or would you say there is too much that we are reading into it?
Extremely difficult, but let me be honest about it. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without a fight. And preparation is the best form of defense. Having seen and having said that, we saw in Operation Sindoor how the synergy, the jointness really worked. And in less than 100 hours, you had Pakistan on its knees begging for ceasefire. So that is indicated that unless you're ready, whoever expected that Pakistan would do what it did in Pahalgam, nobody knew it. And I'm sure Pakistan never expected how we would retaliate. And therefore, preparation. And all these exercises are conducted because this is the season, the time when things are okay, normal. Like Trishul is being conducted, in high altitude exercises are conducted. So these are all exercises are conducted. There is nothing, we mustn't read too much into it. But yes, preparation. And now, after Operation Sindoor, the confidence level has gone up, that jointness can be achieved, interoperability can be done, mission readiness is required, anything can happen anytime. Like they say, the forewarned is forearmed. So it is essential. And seeing what Pakistan, because one nation, which you cannot trust, because Pakistan uses terrorism as an instrument of state policy, having done and having failed to do it, went around saying that they were victorious, knowing fully well that they have lost everything. Now they are in a state they want to retaliate. And you saw how in the Sir Creek region, their naval chief was going around inspecting. They saw a lot of infrastructure activities taking place, a lot of observation posts coming up, anti-drone measures being taken. So all that, they did that during Operation Sindoor also. We saw how active they were in that area. And we've seen in 1965 how it all started off. So much better that we ought to be ready. And once you are ready and prepared, I'm sure Pakistan wouldn't even attempt to do it. And you have the rabid chief of the army staff, the field marshal, who seems to be talking nothing else but about war and feels emboldened because, the relationship with America seems to make both Kemar Sharif and the army chief feel that, yes, seems someone's right, behind their back, standing and would be ready to help them out. It isn't always like that. And of course, on the behest of China, they do whatever they wish to do. But now I would say all these exercises are normal, nothing more to read into it. And these are basically to test. All of it, what you rightly said, and you ought to be showing on the screen, are all this equipment. Because modernization, continuous modernization, there are a lot of Atmanirbharta, which has brought in our own indigenous equipment into it. We've seen Akash Tir, all of it indigenous. You've got to test your radars, you've got to test your cyber, you've got to test your space, everything. So why not in real conditions? And all of it. It is not with the view to scare anybody. It is not with the view to go to war with anybody. But it is primarily to ensure. That is why we find in this Trishul exercise, we have the first In phase one, we have the Navy, then we'll have in phase two the Army, in phase three the Air Force, then join this together, all of them will be operating. We have the BSF, we have the Coast Guard. So all of them, and very important, when exercises are held at that grand level, interoperability, mission readiness, jointness, what we've been referring to again and again, the synergy between the three services, and all of it has been achieved during Operation Sindhu. Why not continue with it? And that's the basic aim of all of it. I don't think anybody should read more into it, but should Pakistan, primarily because the activities that it is indulging in, certainly, if it does decide to do something mischievous, well, they know what's in waiting for them. So that is all. But I don't think we should read more into it. These are normal exercises which we must carry out. Of course, this time the scale may be a little on a larger scale. The location may be a little different. Move towards the Rajasthan desert, the Gujarat area. Primarily, again, you found how the rabid chief of the army staff of Pakistan wanting to threaten the refineries, wanting to say, talking about the Eastern Peninsula.
General Kulkarni, General Kulkarni, what I wanted to ask you, because, I do not have much time left, but I really wanted to take this to you. In terms of the nature of the exercise itself, if you see the icy heights of Ladakh, to the deserts, Indian Ocean region. And I'm harping on this because I don't really recall as to when was the last that we carried out multiple simultaneous drills that were being carried out, and also the nature of these exercises itself. And that's the reason why I'm emphasizing that is this a very strong messaging that we are essentially doing, and what would be the big takeaway if you really look at all these pictures put together?
If you use the word messaging, yes, to a large extent, yes. There's no denying the fact it's messaging. But notwithstanding that, we have problems along the LAC, we have problems along the LOC, we have problems, maritime problems in the Indian Ocean. We've seen how what is happening in the Arabian Sea, in Bay of Bengal, all of it. And it is in that context that all of this is happening. Of course, simultaneously also, we have talks with China going on. We find that the core commander level talks are on in the Chushul-Moldo region. So there is aim is to diffuse the situation. Aim is to have peace and tranquility. But that peace and tranquility can only come if we can also showcase our strength, that we aren't, do not take us for granted. We have everything what we have. First, we have shown all of it in Operation Sindoor. We know, the world knows, the adversaries know what we have. And it is in that context, you're right, it's a messaging being done at the right time so that there is peace and tranquility. That is the most important thing. But should the adversaries attempt to do something, for whatever the reason they might have, they know they're going to get a bloody nose. That is the most important thing, be it in high altitude, be it in the deserts, or be it in the Indian Ocean. All areas, we are busy. And in that context, jointness, synergy, interoperability, the mission readiness, all of it, and we must be prepared. Preparation is the best form of defense. If you are ready, you'll never have war. All this preparation is to ensure that there is no war. But if you are not ready, capacity building takes time. Intentions can change overnight. And it is to ensure that the intentions don't change. We have the capacity building and modernization, equipment that we take, technology adoption, indigenous manufacturing, all of it has to be seen. Drones, anti-drones, UAVs, the equipment, the space, the artificial intelligence, the cyber, all of it has to be seen and tested. It just can't be in laboratories and small mistakes. And hence, I would put it that it is very essential. It is nothing unusual. But yes, the scale and probably a coincidence of timing at all of it, and more so the threat that is emanated once along the LAC. Hopefully, we should be having peace and tranquility there.
Right.
Along the LOC, we hope that the peace and tranquility is there once Pakistan understands that it cannot mess around with India, or rather nobody can mess around with India. That's the messaging that we ought to be giving, and we are giving. Yeah.
Thank you very much, General Kulkarni, for joining us on this broadcast and putting this into perspective. Before I end the show, I want to play out the soundbite of Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai, the Deputy Chief of Army Staff Strategy. In fact, General Ghai spoke on the first conclave on 18th of October, and he called out Pakistan's bluff, something that was being monitored very closely by the Pakistanis. And what they did was carry out a deep fake. And thereafter, the video was made viral. The reality is this, that somewhere down the line, the Pakistanis have been completely spooked because you have our generals doing the straight batting. Today, in another event, Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai once again spoke about the nefarious tactics of the Pakistanis. Listen in to what General Ghai had to say.
The fusion of Chinese and Pak capabilities as far as the cyber or the space domains are concerned, and I think much has been said and written about this, at least as far as Operation Sindoor is concerned. So I don't need to dwell on that, but I think it's a challenge that India faces. Social media, Shalini, she's still here. I think a very fascinating interpretation. Cited the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, then went into the neighborhood, spoke about the meltdowns. And I think her underlying theme that finally it is man that does this. And finally it is man that has to become sensitive to the fact that, that I must not do this, that I must not press this link. And as simple as it may sound, but I think we're still far from doing it. And this is where I want to mention, I think it was only a couple of weeks ago that I stood here and spoke in a conclave that was telecast live through the day. And only a few days later, there was a video of mine circulating, obviously propagating views that are nowhere closer to the manner in which I think. I don't know who did that, whether it was a deep fake, it did not sound like me. So many people who know me very well know that I do not speak like that. And yet, it was forwarded to me by so many that could have actually forwarded the original to me and said that, Rajiv, you spoke well, or Rajiv, you did not speak well. But what they chose to do was forward this fake one to me and said, we hope that you are aware and you are doing something about this. So, this is the world that we live in. Now, whether that stems from you being happy about somebody else's distress, I do not know. But I found that very amusing. I'm not somebody who's going to get very perturbed and rattled by this. If somebody else from the other side decided to do this, well, I'll just think that I'm saying or doing something right which is concerning them.